one screen, right? And yeah, good. So we'll get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshini Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam anusandathami Bhagavath Gita bhavatveshini Namostute vyasa vishala buddhe Pullaravindayata patra netra Yena tvaya bharata taila purnaha Prajvalito jnanamayah pradipaha Prapanna parijataya totra vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya krishnaya Geetamrutatuhe namaha Sarvadharman parityajya Mamekam sharanam vraja Aham tva sarvapapebhyaha Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So we are pretty much on the last lecture of the 4th chapter. Today we should be completing it, and next week we will do a review of not just the 4th chapter alone, which we won't spend too much time, but more importantly, we'll be spending time on how the thought has developed from the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th chapter. And when we do this, there will be a lot of analysis, I've been looking at a lot of the words which have repeated, more from an understanding of the knowledge, of course. And then also the thoughts which started in the 2nd chapter, how did that move on to the 3rd and the 4th? So if you're also doing the analysis, this week is your time to just review 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and see how the thought is developed. And we will spend some time on question answers too. So of course, so next week, quite a lot is planned. We will see how much we'll cover, but for sure, we will do only review for next week. And then the week after, we will start with the 5th chapter. Okay. So the last section is basically, essentially the whole 9 verses, it is all about self-knowledge, which is the ultimate knowledge. We go to the universities, we go for even our hobbies to gain all kinds of other knowledge, whether it is, of course, the knowledge for our job skills. But beyond that, we also spend a lot of time in acquiring other kinds of knowledge, whether it is the tourism industry or whether it is, looking at Gita, tourism industry, or, many other, I want to learn about maybe crochet, or I want to learn about so many things, right? But the most important knowledge of all this is really self-knowledge, the knowledge of Atma. This knowledge is really the most precious thing which we really need to inspire our lives. So for reflection today, I'm just going to spend a little time doing this shloka number 35, which really echoes what this knowledge will really get us, So in the shloka 35, Yajñatva na punar moham evam yasyasi pandhava Yena bhutanya asheshena drakshyasyat manyato mai. So we see Krishna assuring Arjuna that if you have this self-knowledge, if this knowledge of Atma, in today's world, in today where there's so much amount of distractions, so many problems that we see, in all this, self-knowledge is the only thing that is going to take you out of this pit of problems that we are going through, And the benefits for this, well, there are several benefits. That's what Krishna is assuring Arjuna. He tells him that, well, first, of course, is this delusions. Our mind is the one which really takes you into so many different areas and confuses things out for no reason, So it tells you, he's saying that, first of all, it will take you out of all this confusion. The second one, which is actually very, very important for us, is conflicts. We go through so much amount of conflicts. This is not conflicts with people or anything. Of course, that also we have to think about it. But the more importantly is the conflicts within us. So Arjuna's message, and again, and the only reason I bring this up is how this 4th chapter is trying to tell Arjuna that the conflict that he was facing with Duryodhana, the conflict that he was facing with Duryodhana, saying that these people are taking away my kingdom and so I'm going to fight. And finally, when he goes to fight, he's confused about why he's fighting, So all this conflict, where does it come from? Where does this conflict come from? That is the question for us. And this conflict is really mainly because of our own attachments. Our own attachments to things, the I-ness and the minus, I need this or this is mine. So that clearly is the moha or confusion that we face. And this is exactly why for Arjuna too, he was not ready to face the day when, he faced Bhishma and Drona and everything. So something to ponder upon for us too then is, what are our conflicts? What is the conflict in our mind? Is it really this inability to face the future? What will happen to my children? What will happen to my grandchildren? Is the earth safe enough? Who's polluting the world? Who is creating all these wars? All these kind of decisions which we face, in our life, mental decisions, all these things, is basically some of the conflicts, right? Just want to ask all of you, what do you think? What do you think are our conflicts today that we face? Definitely, it is not about who I'm going to get married to, or those kind of decisions. Those conflicts are all gone for us. Now it is who our children are going to get married to, maybe.
Or, you pretty much covered all the conflicts, Sunitha.
Really? Okay. Yeah, no, I think we are in really a sweet spot if you think about it, with Vanaprastha ashram and everything. We have gone through many of the conflicts. We have a much better handle. By God's grace, we have been able to come out of it in many instances. But nevertheless, we have to now face a conflicts of, how will my medical insurance hold up, maybe? And, will there be any major, of course, tsunami is not a problem. What about all the cousins of the Omicron, which is going to come and, but we have even faced that and we have come out of it by God's grace, for those of us who are lucky enough to come out of it. Now the question is to remember that ultimately it is self-knowledge. If I have this knowledge of self, of really who I am and where that happiness lies, I will be ready to face any consequences. Ultimately, that knowledge is the only thing. And therefore, I wanted to bring the shloka up again here because he says, Arjuna moham na yasyasi. You'll never get into any conflict if you have this self-knowledge. Okay. So let's just chant the 10 shlokas from 28 to 37 and from 38 to 42 we'll complete today. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Chaturto Dhyayah Dravya Yajnastapo Yajnyaha Yoga Yajnastatha Pare Swadhya Yajnascha Yajnascha Yathaya Samshita Vrataha Apane Juhvati Pranam Prane Panam Tatha Pare Pranapanagati Rudva Pranayama Parayanaha Apare Niyataharaha Pranan Praneshu Juhvati Sarve Pyete Yajna Vidaha Yajna Kshapita Kalmashaha Yajna Shishtamruta Bhujaha Yanti Brahma Sanatanam Nayam Lokosya Yajnasya Kutonyah Kuru Sattama Evam Bahuvidha Yajnyaha Vitata Brahmano Mukhe Karmajan Vidhitan Sarvan Evam Jnatva Vimokshase Evam Bahuvidha Yajnyaha Vitata Brahmano Mukhe Karmajan Vidhitan Sarvan Evam Jnatva Vimokshase Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnat Jnana Yajnah Parantapa Sarvam Karmakhilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate Tatvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninastattvadarshinaha Yajñatvana punarmoham evam yasyasi pandhava yena bhutanyasheshena drakshasyatmanyato mayi api chetasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamaha sarvam jnanaplavenaiva Rajinam santarishyasi yate dhamsi samidopnihi bhasmasat kurute Arjuna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. So we finished up till here and now we are going to shloka number 38 which we started with. And in here, he says very clearly that at the end of the day, the self-knowledge, which is what we talked about before, how that is the ultimate knowledge, that is the one and only knowledge that we really need to know in this human birth, because with this complex entity that we have received as a body, it is meant to study actually self-knowledge. But along the way, we had to do what we had to do to take care of our this body and everything. And so we got a job and we did everything that we need to do. But then ultimately the knowledge is the ultimate self-knowledge. It is the ultimate purifier. And in order for us to liberate ourselves, it is this knowledge. This knowledge itself is the both. That is what we saw. And the glory of the self-knowledge, also we touched upon it last time. So we will just go to the shloka again. Nahi jnanena satrisham pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindati. So we just saw a little bit of the shloka last time. where he says that nahi jnanena sadrisham. Certainly, nahi, absolutely not. There is nothing else. Absolutely this is what it is, and absolutely not. Others are not, other knowledge is not the most important thing. So, nahi jnanena sadrisham. There is nothing like this self-knowledge. Pavitram, it is the most purifying. So, again, Bhajagovindam, Kurute Ganga Sagar Gamanam Vrita Paripalana Matva Dhyanam, where he says that you may go to Ganga any number of times. Of course, we have to go to Ganges. It is the most purifying river. So, Ganga Snanam, doing japa, all this is very important, but ultimately nothing as purifying as this knowledge. Nahi jnane sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kane natmani vindati. So once we start really understanding the self-knowledge, what exactly it is and how this is going to help me, ultimately in due course, this is the only thing that is going to lead us there. It is not something where I can go to a doctor and just get an injection or something like that. It is, something which only will be the most purifier. So that is, we saw this example of also the woman who loses a necklace, thinking that she has lost a necklace. But when the minute she finds it, she is, she gets her happiness back, right? So too for all this, we need to put the effort only to purify our mind. And once the purification happens and I study the scripture, the knowledge will dawn just like that. So knowledge is the one which basically is the ultimate purifier, and it will take me there, but that doesn't mean that knowledge will take me to moksha. Knowledge will show me what moksha is. Knowledge will reveal my own nature. And when that nature is revealed, I am that, aham brahmasmi, then that knowledge has done its job. In Atma Bodh, there is this shloka where it talks about how, this spatikam, which we add into water, and that spatikam, when it is added to muddy water, it takes the mud away completely and it dissolves also. So that is what knowledge does, and that is what self-purification is. So that is what we saw. Now the question is, how do I get this knowledge? That, we saw in last week about how you approach the teacher, tat viddhi pranipatena, do the service, do the prostrations, everything. But then, will that really get me totally just by doing all those actions? Because sometimes, we see that, maybe there are so many people who do all that. And, sometimes we get impressed, oh my God, these people do so much. I'm not doing that much at all. Is that what is going to ultimately take me? So here we are coming to a very, very, very important shloka. Again, the 4th chapter, there's so many shlokas which are so important. But this shloka is very important because it really talks about this one quality which is absolutely necessary. And that is Shraddha. So Shraddha or faith. So we're going to spend a little time really understanding what exactly is faith and what is not faith and what is, basically blind faith. So let's chant the shloka here. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Tatpara sanyatendriyaha. Tatpara sanyatendriyaha. Jnanam labdhva param shantim. Jnanam labdhva param shantim. Achirenadhigacchati. Achirenadhigacchati. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Tatpara sanyatendriyaha. Jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena digacchati. So this, I'm sure you must have heard the shloka many times in this context of Shraddha. Matter of fact, this is most oft repeated, quoted because of this, because how it talks about what Shraddha is here. So Shraddhavan, that is one who has Shraddha, one who has faith. Shraddha, one who has, such a person obtains the knowledge. So Jnanam Tatparaha. Tatparaha is one who has complete focus on attaining this knowledge. So we saw in Mahabharata how Arjuna was so focused on, hitting that bird on top, by looking at the reflection in the water, right? So his focus was so complete on, hitting that, shooting the arrow on the bird, right? So too, this idea of tatparaha is the ability to completely focus on getting this knowledge. This is the most, important qualification. So for us at this time in our lives as a grihasti and everything, we are working in the world on a lot of things, and along with that, we are working on trying to get this knowledge. But there is going to be at some point in our lives where we're going to say, enough is enough. I've done everything that I need to do in my family life, in all this. Let me now completely focus on trying to purify myself through the various yajnas that was given before, and try to attain this knowledge, because ultimately it is this knowledge which is actually going to be the boat which is going to take me to moksha. So tatparaha is that person who has complete focus on attaining this knowledge. Sanyatendriyaha. So this is another qualification for the person. So you see the qualifications that is needed in order to attain this knowledge. That is what he's trying to give you. Sanyatendriyaha. Indriyaha, the knowledge, the senses, and one who has completely controlled his senses, or like he says, subdued the senses here. Jnanam labdhva. So having obtained this knowledge. So three qualification. One person, the person who has Shraddha, the one person who is completely focused on getting this knowledge, and the person who is in complete control. Such a person, jnanam labdhva, such a person attains that knowledge, and having attained that knowledge, param shantim, he attains a total peace. We all are looking for peace. Where is that peace? That peace is within ourselves, but I'm unable to recognize that that is who I am. And so by doing this qualification, ultimate peace is attained. Achirenadi gacchati. So this is not something which can happen, it's not a posthumous award. It is something that I can get in this life itself. This peace is within myself. I am that peace, I am that happiness, and I can get this without any, it can happen just like that. So this is, so Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. In Kathopanishad, there is also references to how the Shraddha is the most important. Nachiketa's, one of the most important qualifications for Nachiketa was he had that absolute Shraddha. And because of that, even when Yama was trying to tempt him, saying that, I'll give you any amount of horses, I can give you any amount of wealth, he says, no, I know there is something else. What is that? That I need to know. So faith, if you think about it, faith is nothing but this is the, what should I say, some of the best definition that I can think of, which is given, by Swami Advayananda, who is here, who quoted this. Faith is trust pending self-discovery. So this idea is ultimately, I need to have the trust. I need to have a trust that there is something. I may not know about it. I don't know what it is, but I know there is something which is beyond this person, me. Today, I have a lot of trust in, say, the outer world. I have a lot of trust in my boss, for example, that he is going to make sure that my job is going to be completely safe. And if I work very hard, my boss will take care of me. But we know the story, we know the situations that we all go through, that ultimately the boss is not the ultimate. Now, next thing, is my car going to be the ultimate? If I have this best car, I spend my money on getting the car, is that going to be the ultimate thing? No, that is also, we know that is not the case. And finally, I'm going to come to some sensitive topics here. Are my kids going to take care of me when I grow old? Maybe, maybe not, right? We don't know. But can I have total faith in that? Maybe, maybe not. Again, So there are so many things we have faith on, and we look at this, but that is not the. But here we're talking about that ultimate faith, which will actually take me there, and that is a kind of faith which is that trust in that ultimate reality, that trust in God, that he is there to take care of me. Let me do what I have to do. Ultimately, I leave it to God, and he is going to take care of me no matter what. Today, I may not get what I am looking for, but he knows. He knows ultimately what is good for me and what is not good for me. And he's showing me the path, and I just take it, right? So that is the ultimate faith. So when we think about this faith, how do we get to this point which is here, which is faith is trust pending that self-discovery, so even as I'm in this path of learning everything, I need to have faith in four things. What is that faith? Faith in the ultimate reality, faith in the pramana, faith, that is pramana, which is the books or the shastras, which is showing me that ultimate reality, faith in the guru, and faith in my own self. So let us, analyze each one of this very carefully, because if I can have faith in all of them, then that faith ultimately will take me to that reality. So what is that existence in ultimate reality? It is that, okay, my forefathers, my parents, my grandparents, they have lived a certain life. And when they lived the life, they knew that if I have this faith in God, things will be okay. That is my earliest, what should I say, the earliest data point that I can go with. Right? Otherwise, if anybody were to tell me, we may not accept it, but we see in the lives of our forefathers, and this is why the importance of one of the yajnas, which we talked about, is the yajna to the forefathers. They have done this, they have shown me the way. So ultimately, that faith, that existence, that there is something, I may not know what it is. And I have a beautiful quote by Rabindranath Tagore coming up here, but I wanted to explain that I need to have that faith that there is something, and I will work towards it. That is the first step. If I don't even have that much, then I have closed the door, which will not then allow me to go even one step further. So that existence in ultimate reality is the door that opens me to go further. So that faith I need to have. The second faith is that faith in the scriptures, like the Vedas. The Vedas have been given to us by the rishis because of their highest form of purified intellect, what they had, due to which the knowledge dawned on them. And they have given us this knowledge which has been passed on. And this Bhagavad Gita that we are studying is nothing but the Upanishad. And this Upanishad is telling me really who I am and what is my oneness with God. So I need to have faith that this Upanishad is going to take me there. So that much I need to have. And if I understand the meanings of every word, then that itself is going to be the boat for me to take this. So this is the second faith I need to have. Then I may have this faith, but then can I say that let me just Google? Let me Google. Google has all the information. I can just learn from there. But how do I know? This is the big thing about Google, right? Google will give me thousands. Bhagavad Gita, if I put Bhagavad Gita alone, I haven't checked the latest one over, but I can imagine there must be trillion references, I think, on Bhagavad Gita, you know? So is Google going to take me there? Is the books that I read, will that take me there? The books are only a passive thing. The books will give me all the information, but the book will not tell me where I'm going wrong, right? So if each one of us are so individual in our own makeup, so it is so very important to have that guru on whom I have faith in, you know, whom I have complete shraddha. You know, I cannot say that, oh, you know, this guru is not I know Gurudev used to say, this guru's beard is not long enough. So how do I know that this guru is going to be able to teach me? Or, you know, this guru is not using the right words. You know, I don't think his English is very good, so I'm not going to go to him. How do, you know, ultimately one needs to have that faith in the guru, to have that, you know, 100% faith in the guru. And that is why in ashrams and everything, you see the very first thing when they admit a student is they don't say, okay, come beta, I'm going to teach you. They actually make sure that the student does a lot of seva, that pranipatena, pariprashnena, all those words are so important. So the student is put through a seva routine. And once this student is really, you know, this brings the tuning also as an important factor with the guru. And so that ultimately leads to the faith in the guru. Then the last one, I may have faith in the ultimate reality. I may have faith in the guru. I may have faith in the scriptures. But there is one thing which is most important. I need to have faith in my own self. That faith is very important. You know, I may say that, okay, you know, the guru is great, everything is good, but you know what, I don't have the ability to understand. You know, I feel that, you know, I'm not there yet. You know, we say this many times, you know, I'm not there yet. I don't think I have the ability to get there. No, this is also something which is tied in the faith itself, which is when I have complete faith even in myself, that I am ready for it. That is when even the self-knowledge works well. You know, I have to be ready for it. I have to say that I have the ability to understand it in whatever way and level that I can be there. So that faith in oneself is also very, very important. So 4 things we said. And Swami Vivekananda, you know, I want to put this quote here where he says, who is really an atheist? An atheist is not really a person who doesn't believe in religion. According to Swami Vivekananda, an atheist is one who does not even have belief in himself. He doesn't have trust in himself. Ultimately, I have to have the trust that I will get this knowledge. And therefore, he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. The old religions said that he's an atheist who did not believe in God. But the new religion, and this is when he says new religion, this is about, what, 150 years ago, you know, he said this. The new religion says he's an atheist who does not believe in himself. So this is a quote that I was mentioning about how really a very beautiful quote by Rabindranath Tagore. Faith is the bird that feels the light even when it is dark outside, you know, when the dawn is still dark. So powerful quote. You know, this is really how I think ultimately you look at what faith is, you know, and it is in many ways, if you think about the differentiation between what is true faith and what is blind faith. So true faith is I've done all my inquiry. I have complete Shraddha and everything. Finally, I know that I will get that knowledge. And that complete trust is what, even before the sun rises, that, the sky is going to change color and the sun is going to shine. So all this can happen only when somebody has a firm conviction. So too, this ultimate faith is that when I have the faith in myself, I have faith in the Guru, the Pramanas, and this is ultimately is going to take me to that self-knowledge, to that knowledge. So ultimately, faith is the crest on which rides the intellect of the seeker. So think about this. It is not blind faith where I'm just led by something that somebody told me, but I have looked at it, I have analyzed it, I have studied the scriptures, my mind is completely resting on this information. So when I have that, I am really qualified to get that self-knowledge. So faith is a crest on which the seeker rides with his intellect. So, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam, tatparaha sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. So, when I have that faith, when I have that complete focus and concentration, there is just no question, there is no doubt that this will happen. It will happen right then, just immediately. I remember Sharda Aunty always quoting Gurudev and saying, Gurudev, you should tell her, you can realize in this birth itself. That's the assurance he would always give. And Mami used to quote this quite often about how ultimately, it is that it is possible in this life itself when we have these three qualities. And that's why the shloka is such an important one. Shraddha, Tatparaha, and Sanyatendriya, the control of the senses. Control of the senses, I'm not spending too much time on that because we've already done this before. But ultimately, it is that ability to not allow my mind to get distracted into anything else. So once we do this, then it is possible to go there. So, and Bhagwan, Shri Krishna says there is absolutely no doubt at all that once you have that faith, that there is that Brahman, there is that God, there is Ishvara, and even the worst sinner will definitely get this when you reach there. So that's the aspect of the doubting Thomas that he's trying to address in this next shloka. Agnyascha shraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paraha na sukham samshayatmanah Agnyascha shraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paraha na sukham samshayatmanah. So here he's trying to describe then, you see the pattern, right? Every time he gives a powerful shloka, Lord Krishna wants to make sure he gives the opposite aspect of it also. Who are the people who can get there? Who are the people who cannot get there? So that is what he's referring to in this shloka. Who are the people? He gave 3 qualifications there. And now he's coming up with 3 qualifications of people who will not really get that self-knowledge. And who are those people? They are the Agnya or Ajnanis, ignorant people, cha indicating and, ashraddha dhana, who don't have the shraddha, and who are constantly doubting, samshayatma. So this is not about, that we should not question. We have to question and question. And Gurudev used to be a great proponent of this. And we see that too, whenever any Swamiji comes to even Avantika, we have long sessions of question answers. The whole idea is samshayatma, to be able to get the doubt from myself, samshayatma. So here, that is not the kind of person. Here, samshayatma is, you tell this person everything, and still the person will say, I don't believe in it. So Swami Tejomananda used to give this example of, he met this one PhD professor of physics. And, in physics, we have, those concepts of quantum mechanics. And there are, in fact, I was listening to a lecture last week on one of the channels by Subhash Kak. Actually, Subhash K is, you should listen to him, Subhash Kak, who's the professor at University of Oklahoma. And he was telling about how, who is that? Either Schrodinger, I think Schrodinger, who actually quoted one of his Upanishads in, I'll get the reference next time for sure. But the point I'm trying to come to it is that in physics, we have certain concepts which allows you to come, I guess, so close to really understanding that ultimate reality, So this particular PhD professor, he said, I'm studying so much, but yet I'm unable to get rid of, I'm not able to get it. I still don't get what the self-knowledge is, So ultimately, it is not about, really clearing your doubts about whatever you want, but we also need the other two qualifications. And that is why here he's trying to show that ashraddha dana, which is somebody who is devoid of that shraddha, and somebody who is ignorant indicating that somebody who is living in this world thinking that he's this body, mind, intellect, right? This equipment, what we're facing. So such a person, one who's ignorant, one who's devoid of faith, for such a person, vinashyati. So the ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting, they go to destruction. There is neither in this world nor in the other. Na ayam lokaha asti na paraha. Not even in the next world, in the next birth, na sukham samshayatmanaha, nor happiness for this particular who is the doubting person. So the ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting Thomas. These are the three people that we are talking about. Somebody who doesn't have any faith at all. He just, anything you tell them is, they think it's just a cock and bull story or something like that. And, telling, if you try to bring somebody to a lecture and say, maybe you'll get something out of it, the person says, I don't think so. That is definitely not the case. And then somebody who constantly doubts, like I said, for such person, it is really pitiable that the doubt itself is a huge blockage, unable to get beyond that, this one. So, Krishna is then telling Arjuna, you also kind of fall into that category, Arjuna. You're just doubting too much. So that is why I'm asking you not to doubt and how you can really go further. So that is what he's trying to give here, which is really a summary of the shloka, which is 41, almost the second last shloka here we are coming to. Yoga sanyasta karmanam. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibhatnanti dhananjaya Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibhatnanti dhananjaya. So he's addressing him again by Dhananjaya. and telling him that yoga sannyasta. So, this chapter being a summary, it's yoga sannyasa, one who has renounced renounced actions through yoga karma kaushalam. If you remember the second chapter, by really understanding the how these actions have to be performed. So yoga, one who has renounced the actions in yoga, how? Through knowledge, whose doubts have been completely eliminated. Jnana samchinna samshaya. Samchinna meaning which has been totally dissolved. Samchinna samshayam. Some, the word indicating very well. Only through knowledge, it has been completely destroyed. Atmavantam na karmani, who is poised in the self, or who recognizes the self in himself, who's poised in the self. For such a person, no actions can ever bind such a person. So his ultimate message to Arjuna, saying that Arjuna, don't worry, you just do your duty, and again giving him the qualifications for such a person. His doubts are all completely broken. So if you remember in Drigdasha Vivek, we had Grandhee, which is the knots, avidya kama karma, all these knots of ignorance, all the knots of desire. Once we understand the vidya, that is the one which is going to destroy this avidya kama karma. Avidya, which is ignorance, which leads to desire, which ultimately leads to those actions. So that kind of actions is completely destroyed when I have that knowledge. So this is the ultimate summary of the shloka, which is the ultimate summary of this chapter, which is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, which is the yoga of the renunciation of action. So renunciation of action doesn't mean, again, giving up action and running away. Renunciation of action doesn't mean that I cannot do everything that I'm doing today, but it is ultimately giving up the doership, ultimately understanding that I am not the doer. This body, mind, and intellect is only an instrument through which I am being given a chance to do some work in this world. So that is the ultimate thing to recognize here. So that is the summary of the shloka. So finally, the last shloka, which is again talking about the glory of the knowledge, and we will do this. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. Hritstam jnanasinatmanah. Hristam jnanasinatmanah. Hristam jnanasinatmanah. Chitvainam samshayam yogam. Chitvainam samshayam yogam. Atishta yogam. Atishtotishta bharata. Atishtotishta bharata. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. Hritstam jnanasinatmanah. Chitvainam samshayam yogam. Uttishtottishta bharata. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. Hritstam jnanasinatmanah. Chitvainam samshayam yogam. Uttishtottishta bharata. I make this mistake of going between the English and the Sanskrit, and they don't align with each other, and that's why I'm making this mistake here. So therefore, tasmat, therefore, so this, by using this word tasmat, it is already signifying that we are coming to the conclusion of this chapter. So sometimes this word is used, in many different ways. So it depends on whether it's a few verses, or it could be, sometimes it is also used to, as a closing thing for a section of a paragraph or a chapter. But here it is basically as a conclusion to the second, almost to the second chapter. At the end of second chapter, Lord Krishna gives a message, and therefore this tasmat is used as a word to signify that, so Arjuna, this is why I'm telling you, so that is what he's trying to come here. So basically trying to say that, whatever doubts you have, Arjuna, whatever conclusion you have, I hope I have taken care of it for you. And I hope by this knowledge, oh Arjuna, you will now pick up the bow and fight. So that's why the word tasmat is used, Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. So ajnana, it's only through ignorance born in the which is the heart. So ignorance born, which is residing in conclusion, ignorance is born in the heart. So therefore, with the sword of knowledge of the self, asina sword atmanaha, chitva, I think this word chitva came before too. Next week when we analyze them, I'll bring that verse again. So chitva, with the sword of knowledge of the self, just totally cut this doubt and then take refuge in me. Just completely, totally surrender onto me. So you see the same verses, the same kind of phrases will keep coming again and again. So here he's saying, remove all those doubts by just completely surrendering it to me. Then uttishta, uttishta bharata, just get up and do what you have to do. So you see, it's not Krishna is telling him that, okay, Arjuna, I've given you this knowledge, you're done, I'm done, now you can retire. That's not what he's trying to say here. He's basically telling Arjuna, your dharma is to fight. And that is what you need to do. So just go out. I've given you this knowledge. Just completely have faith in me. And this is why you see, Krishna is the charioteer. He's telling Arjuna, I'm reminded of backseat driving. Many times, we give the wheel of the driving to the person to drive. And then from the back, we'll be telling, okay, drive this way or drive that way, because we don't have faith in the driver. So here, have that ultimate faith. And that's what he's telling Arjuna, just do your dharma. This is your calling at this point in time. There's no way you can actually escape this. So I hope that whatever I said, you will just rise up and you will take the bow and you will shoot the arrow and start the war. That is the ultimate summary which he's trying to give here. So we'll say the last shloka here. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavath Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sanyasa Yogo Nama Chaturtho Dhyaya. I'll repeat it again. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sanyasa Yogo Nama Chaturtho Dhyaya. So he's trying to again just, we have done this before, but Tatsat indicating this is the Sankalpa Vakya. Again, these words were given by Madhusudan Saraswati, referring to that ultimate reality. And then Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu, it is this Bhagavad Gita is nothing but an Upanishad, and it is talking about that ultimate reality, which is Brahma Vidya, and it is Yoga Shastra, which is that knowledge of yoga, of renunciation of action, which is coming up in Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, which is, it gives you the instructions, the do's, don'ts, etc. So ultimately, this is the ultimate knowledge which is being given. So from second to fourth chapter, we see this whole thing happening. has been summarized, and we have finished the chapter here. So next week, we will, like I said, do a whole review from 2nd to 4th chapter. We'll take some specific concepts. We'll see the shlokas which refer to that and how that flow of thought has been captured. So we'll finish here. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So with the blessings of Ishvara, with the grace of Ishvara, with the blessings of all our Guru Parampara, we've been able to complete this 4th chapter. So I'm extremely grateful to all our Gurus and to all of you for sticking through this entire 4th chapter and studying the 4th chapter together. It has been really a great experience for me, particularly to do my Mananam along with you on this thing here. So thank you very much. And stop the share, and I will also stop the live stream. Did it stop the no?